This episode is brought to you by La Quinta by Wyndham. Your work can take you all over the place, like Texas. You've never been, but it's going to be great because you're staying at La Quinta by Wyndham. Their free Bright Side breakfast will give you energy for the day ahead. And after, you can unwind using their free high-speed Wi-Fi. Tonight, La Quinta. Tomorrow, you shine. Book your stay today at lq.com.
At Evernorth Health Services, we believe costs shouldn't get in the way of life-changing care. And we're doing everything in our power to make it possible. Behavioral health solutions that also keep your projections at their best? It's possible. Pharmacy benefits that benefit your bottom line? It's possible. Complex specialty care that cares about your ROI? It's possible. Because we're already doing it. All while saving businesses billions. That's Wonder made possible. Learn more at evernorth.com/wonder.
Joseph, before we bring him in, I'm going to give you a little side notes here before we start the show with him. He is a chef and a medical doctor. Go figure. All right?
Yeah, I was joking before, he can cook you up some nasty shit that's bad for your heart, and then if you have a heart attack, save you after that.
Yeah. I mean, God forbid, you eat something wrong in a restaurant. I want to have a fucking doctor on standby to fucking pump it out. You know what I mean? Jesus. But anyway, yeah, we're going to bring him on here in a minute here. We're going to start right now. You got any side notes here before we bring him on, Joseph?
No, none that I can think of offhand.
Jeez, Joseph, you're usually, God. I know I had a couple of cold ones myself before the show, but usually you're right on fucking fire. Producer Shaky, man, in the window next to me, man, he's like, all right, let's get the show started, Mike. I got one more Fireball whiskey shot, man. I'm ready to go. Let's go. But, all right, buddy.
Savage.
This program contains subject matter and language that may be disturbing to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
There we go again. More technical problems. We live in the 21st century.
No! Savage unfiltered.
Under. The only reason I know this is because I lived under tyranny. I lived.
Oh, shut the fuck up! You're a fucking.
Your host, Michael Fenster.
Proper fashion at the proper time.
Like a Hellcat.
Hey guys, we made it. We got Joseph here, of course. Joseph M. Leonard, the author of Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You. Joseph, what do you think of this host today? A chef and a medical doctor. You don't find very much, buddy, in today's society. What a chef and a doctor.
Yeah, well, that's an obvious question. Did he become a chef first and then went and became a doctor? Or was he a doctor first and decided, rather than cutting up hearts, I want to cut up veal?
I don't know.
Cut up.
Yeah, I don't know, Joseph. I mean,
we'll have to ask him.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna have to ask him, that question. Like, did the chef position come first, or the chef role come first before the doctor, or did the doctor role come first before the chef, or did he get it all at once? I don't know, guys.
Right.
But
since we're talking food, right? Which came first, chicken or the egg?
You never know. Hope. Anyway, guys. But, welcome to today's show. This is Savage Unfiltered, guys. Got an interesting guest. I seen him on the internet, obviously, right? I mean, he's all over YouTube, different types of shows he's been on. I see he's has been, affiliated with Fox News. So I mean, a big hat tip to that. I mean, that's pretty damn good, Joseph, right? Fox News. I mean,
I'm more a Newsmax and OAN viewer these days, but Fox is still pretty good.
Well, Joseph, the only people I listen to on Fox News pretty much today is like Tucker and the Five. Other than that, they all suck, to be honest with you. I'm sorry, Fox News. The only thing that's saving your platform right now is Tucker, Judge Janine, and the rest on the 5. That's it. Other than that, your entire platform sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, Tucker's pretty much carried it.
I agree, although I don't watch Tucker that much these days either. I tune in, I record on DVR the 5, mainly for Gutfeld, and I record Gutfeld's show every night because, you know, they're presenting news with some fun involved also. So, and as they say, Greg is indeed the king of late night. But other
Well,
than
you know,
that,
Joseph,
I'm doing Newsmax and OAN.
You know, you do mention Gutfeld, man. I keep on forgetting to put Gutfeld in. You know, like he's like, all right, Gutfeld, number 3, right? You have 3 or sometimes 4 different types of personalities that's carried your network. But other than that, guys, this is Chef. How do I say this, Michael? Or, you know, is it Chef Michael, or is it should we call you Dr. Mike or Chef Mike? How should we call you?
Chef Dr. Mike works. You can call me whatever you want. I'll answer to it.
All right, buddy. So I got a question to ask you, Dr. Mike or Chef Mike or Dr. Chef Mike or however you want to call it, right? I mean, you got so many fucking titles there, buddy. It's unreal. What role came first? Joseph and I, obviously, here as the show was starting, we were trying to figure out, did the chef role come first or did the doctor role come first? What came first?
Well, chef role came out. I was a fat kid, right? You know, I grew up with, you know, Hostess and, you know, pizza rolls. And, you know, I loved food from a young age. I grew up in the dark ages before the internet, and we were always moving around. So, you know, I was like always a new fat kid on the outside. And, you know, this kitchen, my mom was a great home cook, would watch Julia Child, Galloping Gourmet. And so when I would come home after school, she was always about that time in the kitchen cooking stuff. And so the kitchen really became a place of sanctuary for me. And then as I went off into college to help pay for college, it was real natural for me to start in the food industry. And so I actually started as a dishwasher. You know, I went in there and I said, hey, you know, I've got some cooking skills. I got mad cooking skills. You know, I watched Julia Child. I've been cooking for years. They said, that's great. We got an opening for dishwasher. And if something else opens up and you're still here, we'll give you a shot. And so I washed dishes for 6 months. Then they were good to their word, and they gave me a shot on what now would be, you know, short order cookery on the line. And then from there, I went to a couple other different restaurants while I was working through college. And by the time I left college, today you call what I did back then an executive chef. We just were chefs and cooks back then. There was nothing really much celebrity about it.
Yeah, I mean, I also see you have a medical degree as well too.
Yeah, I'm an interventional
rare,
cardiologist.
You know?
I'm a board certified cardiologist. So as Leonard was saying, you know, you eat that burger, the wrong burger in the middle of the night. I'm the guy that gets called in to unclog that artery.
Damn.
I did guess right, yeah.
Good call. Good call.
Yeah,
Man.
Here, of course, I thought I was just making an offhand, stupid joke, but, you know, truth is stranger than fiction, as they say at times, right?
Well, yeah, what's really interesting, you know, you guys said, wow, you know, and it really is, right? I'm the only board-certified interventional cardiologist, professional chef, and I also actually teach culinary medicine at the University of Montana, so I'm a professor of culinary medicine. I don't know anyone else that has sort of those 3 credentials anywhere on the globe. But when you talk about doctors and food, you know, if you go back to some of the first cookbooks that were written, ancient Greece, etc., doctors were all about food because we used to understand that food impacted your health. And then over the last, you know, 50, 75 years, 100 years or so, we've gotten completely away from that. And medicine now is so much about, you know, procedures, devices, and pharmaceuticals.
Yeah. I see that, Michael, that you're pretty much, I mean, you're the only cardiologist in that field in the entire country. Is that the entire country or is that the entire world? I have to repeat that again.
As far as I know, I am the only interventional cardiologist, professor of culinary medicine, and professional chef, anywhere on the globe. There are a number of other docs now who are getting into culinary medicine. Most of them are, family practice docs, some internists, etc. But nobody sort of has that trifecta of credentials, and of course I've been doing this for decades now. I mean, the things that I wrote about in one of my books about a decade ago have really, come true. And, 10 years ago, I was writing that, hey, don't pay any attention to the cholesterol in your diet. It has nothing to do with the cholesterol in your blood. And, I wrote that book, and I had a good colleague who was at another academic institution, a fine academic institution in Tennessee. And I was like, John, what do you think of the book? And he's like, dude, I love it. Your data set is, unassailable. You've done your homework in this. I agree with what you're saying. I was like, can I get a testimony? He's like, hell no, I'd get fired if I agree with you. But, all those things have come to pass. So, it's good to be proved right at the end. It's been a long road, though.
Yeah, that's an issue here. And I wanted to ask you that because you mentioned diet and that, because this is an issue. I believe that the saying all things in moderation is valid regarding everything. Right? I don't think the human body is meant to be vegan. I don't think it's also healthy to be all red meat all the time. Everything in moderation, but they changed the food pyramid, and one week eggs are okay, the next week eggs are not. Address that for us.
Savaged, unfiltered.
Well, mostly it's because for the last sort of 50 to 75 years, we didn't know what the hell we were talking about. We totally missed the boat in understanding that it's not these groups of foods like red meat or, carbohydrates or this or that. It's what we've done to the food. So for millions of years, we've evolved along with our gut bacteria. And everybody's heard how important the gut microbiome is. I mean, in medicine nowadays, we consider it like an accessory organ. It's so intimately involved in communicating to our brain and the immune system and everything else. And we had no idea when we started, adding preservatives and emulsifiers and synthetic fiber, carboxymethylcellulose, for example, that while it may not impact, our human cells and our human gut, we were destroying our gut microbiome. And that leads to gut inflammation. And we talked about ancient Greeks a few minutes ago, right? Hippocrates said over 2,500 years ago, all disease starts in the gut. And I can tell you as an interventional cardiologist, one of the most amazing things to me was that when they looked at what they can extract, what we extract from those coronary plaques, they actually found DNA from gut bacteria inside those coronary atherosclerotic plaques. So all of this is connected in a way we probably really still don't quite understand. But what we can identify is that really over the last decade to 15 years, and a lot of this credit goes to Carlos Monteiro from the University of Sao Paulo in Brazil, because he was outside the influence of the U.S. food industry, big snack, big soda, etc. And as the story goes, Brazil, several decades ago, started emerging in terms of their economy, which meant their population had money, which of course meant big soda, big snack went down there to sell some American goodies, chips and burgers and all that. And all of a sudden they noticed that their population started getting fat, started having diabetes, heart disease was on the rise, never had these problems in the history of the country. And as the story goes, they actually approached our representative at the UN and said, hey, can you do something about, your companies coming down here? And, our government's like, look, dude, free market, is what it is. You deal with it. And so they started actually investigating the effect of the changes we put into the food. It's something called the NOVA classification. And that's what we use in our culinary medicine approach, and said, look, eggs are good, but, that fake eggs that come in a box are not good. And you talked about vegan food, right? fresh vegetables from your farmer's market are great. But if you go to the grocery store, over 85% of vegetarian meals are ultra processed. And it's the ultra processed food that really seems to be at the heart of what's killing us. To give you a great example, Joseph, to what you said about moderation, there was a study called the Adventist 2 Health Study. They looked at over 75,000 people, and they had a lot of vegetarians because that's part of the Seventh-day Adventist teaching. And what they found is that there was no difference between a plant-based approach and an animal-based approach in terms of mortality. In other words, what kills you when you accounted for ultra-processed food. So it's all about the amount of crap that you ate.
Yeah, there's always a trade-off, right? The preservatives, we need preservatives to make the food capable of getting everywhere it needs to and lasting long enough to get into people's mouths, but there is that trade-off.
Michael Gardner.
There is, and we don't know, some of these preservatives seem to have much more detrimental effects than others. And there are other ways around the preservation process as well, right? Just freezing, for example, is a great way to preserve food where we don't necessarily have to add all these extra things. And so there are ways to work around. I think, this idea that we can't produce food in a sustainable, responsible manner in the quantities that we need to feed our population is, from what I've seen, just not true. We don't need Monsanto. We don't need the tons of fertilizers, et cetera, to replete that soil. I have some friends who are wheat farmers in North Dakota, and they tell me, now it takes time. It took them 5 years to replenish the health of their soil, but they actually make more money now with regenerative farming because they don't have to buy GMO seeds from Monsanto at a price. They don't add fertilizers. They don't have to spray with herbicides. So their costs in being able to produce yields that they tell me are very comparable to what they use to get when they did conventional farming. And they can do it in a manner that's better for us as individuals to eat because our food isn't filled with crap before it even, gets turned into a loaf of bread. And better for the planet, etc. But there is a period there, right? And it's one of those things that they argue. Let's stop subsidizing corn and subsidize people for those 5-6 years it takes to replenish the health of the soil so we can grow real food.
Yeah, you mentioned preservatives. I wanna get more on the preservatives because I got a question to ask you, and hopefully you can address this to the viewers here on the show, and of course whoever's viewing this on Rumble. But guys, I got to take a quick break. We'll be right back here with Dr. Chef Michael Fenster here on the show here, Savage Unfiltered. Be right back.
Welcome to my lodge. This temple of wood, stone, and sports is more than just a lifestyle. It's a mentality. At Twin Peaks, we're rooted in forest-to-table comfort food, wall-to-wall TVs, and our signature 29-degree draft beer. So, welcome to the lodge mentality. Because here at Twin Peaks, we're all lumberjacks. Twin Peaks, eats, drinks, scenic views.
All right, guys, welcome back to Savage Unfiltered, guys. We got an interesting guest here today. Obviously, guys have been paying attention to the beginning of this episode here. We have a chef/medical doctor. Very rare in this society, but it's good too. We always make jokes and pun intended there. If you ever have something stuck in the esophagus, there's your doctor right there. And if you want a salmon or some type of steak, hey, he's right there too. He can cook it up right there, and after he pumps up the shit that's stuck in your stomach. So I mean that's a good thing, right? Always a good thing. I mean, hey, maybe we can have another role for him. Maybe there's something that he has that we don't know about. But guys, I got a question to ask our guest here. Dr. Chef Michael here with this preservative here. He got into some really, really good content here with the preservatives, the healthy food and preservatives. I want to ask this question to our guest, Dr. Chef Michael here, with the preservatives. Do you see a lot more preservatives going into even the healthier food? Because I was just at a Whole Foods here locally here in Orlando, Florida, and I'm starting to see even preservatives added into the healthy food. And the healthy food are supposed to be food that doesn't have a lot of preservatives. Do you see that, or is it just me seeing that?
No, there's a lot of, first there's a lot of confusion about, what is healthy food? Is it, plant-based? Is it plant heavy? Is it, plant-based meat alternatives? Is it, a vegan lifestyle? Is it, lean chicken instead of a steak?
Right. But I'm seeing a lot of the preservatives inside that, though. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm even seeing the preservatives in the vegan and all that other shit. Yeah.
And so we look at it in a much simpler way. We say, is it ultra processed or not ultra processed? And a down and dirty way to figure that out is look at the ingredient label, and you don't even have to read it. Just count it. If there are more than 5 ingredients listed, about 85% of the time, not always, but about 85% of the time, it's ultra processed. And ultra processing involves more than just adding preservatives. So things are taken down. Nature packages food for us in a way that we've evolved to process it along with that bacteria and keep both that bacteria and ourselves healthy for millions of years. There's something, believe it or not,
right,
Michael, we're going to talk about the matrix. So it's called the food matrix.
Yeah.
And when you ultra process food, what you do is you destroy that natural food matrix. And then you put it back together where you add all those preservatives, or you add things like emulsifiers. And that changes how we digest, how we extract nutrients, how our bacteria deals with that food. So it's not just things that are added or removed, but it's this whole secret process. And a good rule of thumb is something is ultra processed is generally if you can't make it in your kitchen. So when they're doing these fancy things and extruding, breakfast cereals into these weird flakes, using these chemical techniques, or hexane extracting, vegetable oils, that's not something I do in my kitchen, and I have a pretty professional culinary kitchen. You could be pretty sure that's ultra processed.
Okay, but like for somebody like me, Dr. Michael, I don't even know what the hell to call you. I'm just gonna say Michael. I don't.
Yeah, or Chef Doc, whatever's fine.
You got too many damn roles. Anyway, for somebody like me and the average shopper going into stores like Whole Foods and all these, pretty much upscale, fresher type of food markets that are shopping for the fresher type of food and stuff like that. How do you know where to look for? Where typically, for somebody like me, I don't know where to look for these preservatives if it has too much MSG.
Just turn over that ingredient. Yeah, just turn over that ingredient label, right? So here's a great example. If you went and said, hey, I want to get some ham. I love ham, but I want something that's good for me. So you go to this place and you say, hey, what are the ingredients? Or let me turn over this, Italian prosciutto di Parma. And you'll see like 3 ingredients: pork, salt, water. 3. That's it, right? Now go get one of those Lunchable hams. You need my freaking chemistry degree to get to the bottom of that. There's like 42 things in there: sodium benzoate, citric acid, blah, 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 artificial colors, caramel flavoring. So all you have to do is turn it over, look at that ingredient list and count it. And if there's a bunch of stuff that you don't know what it is, just put it back on the shelf.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, you gave me an idea. You're talking about the food matrix. To help get this all across to children, you should produce a cartoon, The Shopping Matrix, where Neo and the crew go in to examine the real versus the machine food, right?
You're exactly right? Because that's what it is it's this sort of ultra processed, what we would call industrial food. And people have been, I think, misinformed, maybe by accident, maybe good advertising, at the other extreme. But, one of the guys who was taking my class, who used to be a professional cyclist, said, "Hey, Chef Dr. Mike, I went into my cupboard and I had to throw away like $200 worth of Cliff Bars because, I go biking and that's what I eat all the time. And when I looked at that label, they were nothing but ultra processed crap." So it's this idea that, the plant-based meats and the vegan meals and the Cliff Bars and these sorts of things are healthy or healthier choices than a natural bison burger or a grass-fed steak. As we've looked at the data, and it certainly supports our position over the decades, and this is what we teach, is that's not true. It's not necessary. Just like eat delicious food that's real food.
Yeah, the processed stuff, again, is meant to last longer on the shelf, or like those bars, meant to give you an immediate fulfillment of something you may be lacking, but for a long-term health, that's not good. And you mentioned a beef-fed, grass-fed beef. I don't do fish except for tuna on occasion, and I like to joke, I don't even want the steak if the cow was bathed before it went to slaughter.
Yeah, you see a lot of those grass-fed burgers now all the time, Michael, with the burger joints popping. Especially, we see them all the time here in Orlando, which I call Orlando basically the like a food capital of the world. I mean, there's so many great restaurants here and the heart of Orlando, Florida. Grass-fed burger restaurants all over the place popping up. So, I mean, would you consider grass-fed? Obviously, it seems like you're a big fan of grass-fed type.
Yeah, I just cooking for dinner. I'm doing some homemade, grass-finished teriyaki burgers from local bison. Guy raises bison. I'm in Montana, so right down the road we have this incredible resource. So yeah, that's what I'm having. And when you have real chefs crafting real food, sourcing real ingredients, you can go out to places like that, and get real food, crafted by chefs, tastes absolutely delicious. You're enjoying it, and it can be really good for you. And I want to, touch on something that Joseph said as well, because it's important to realize that these ultra processed foods are not just made to sit on the shelf. They are made to do that because they're about being profitable. But they're also, essentially engineered foods. They're like drugs in many senses of application. And there was a great book written a number of years ago by David Kessler, who was FDA head of the FDA a number of years ago. And then when he left, he went out into the industry and explored how are they making these foods. And these foods are engineered to achieve something that's called a bliss point. And so what that is sugar, salt, and fat basically light up the pleasure areas of our head like the Christmas tree, on Christmas vacation. And the more sugar, salt, and fat that I can deliver to your brain, the more you're going to enjoy it, because the more dopamine you're going to have around, and it's going to give you that food high. And so what these food companies do, for example, is find the maximum amount of sugar and salt combined with fat, because fat kind of acts as a carrier. So when I combine sugar and salt with fat, I can add more sugar and salt, and the food doesn't taste too sweet or too salty. And what we add depends on the food, right? Because people like maybe salty potato chips or a sweet donut, etc. But you want to find what that
we all do, yeah.
Add until it becomes too sweet, and that's called the bliss point. And so these foods are built to create addiction.
Savaged.
Joseph, now I understand why he had to get a medical degree instead of a culinary degree. I mean, the guy, he's basically telling us, an entire medical journal here of what's good and what's bad for you, pretty much, right, Joseph?
Yeah, and that's why fast food grew so fast. The addiction things, the engineering of them to keep you coming back, not just the ease of going through the drive-through.
You nailed it, Joseph. It's engineered food. 100%. Yeah, spot on, mate. Absolutely, on target there. And that's the way we have to think of it. And unfortunately for me, I'm not pushing a diet of this or a diet of that. And, I'm kind of arguing against, having a diet. The average American eats 70% ultra processed food. And as you said, you don't have to be Yul Gibbons and like nibble on pine trees to be healthy. If you want to go out and have an ice cream cone, have an ice cream cone, make it a special occasion, don't eat that every single day. But
Michael, if I may chime in, I'm sorry. You mentioned something here, which is a first. I might have heard it from, it recently. You mentioned something called engineer food. I see that a lot popping all, obviously McDonald's, Burger King, which is, it's a growing concern. Fast food, people go to these places for convenience more than taste, I think. If you're going to pass McDonald's, you're going to pass Applebee's. 90% of people traveling on major highways is going to hit that McDonald's first before they hit that Applebee's. That's just my personal opinion. Now, with the growing concern of fast food, how do you think we can, control the obese or the obesity in this country?
Well, we have to address that and address. You're spot on. Again, great point, Michael. And you're very right in terms of convenience, and that's really the driver. I forget his first name. I think it was Greg, but it's Creed is his last name. And he used to be the CEO of Yum Brands, which a number of years ago, they run KFC and Taco Bell and those places. And they run Pizza Hut. And he gave a talk called Easy Beats Better Every Time. And really quickly, what he did was said, well, Pizza Hut, we're number 2. We're going to be at number 1 by making a tastier pizza. We're going to make a better quality pizza. So they did, and they had people in focus groups eat it, and they loved it. And they said, yeah, Pizza Hut pizza is the best. And then they tried to sell it, and they didn't sell a whole lot more because it took like 42 seconds more to order Pizza Hut pizza than the other one. So they said, screw this. We're just going to make it easy, make it cheap and convenient. And that's what really worked for them in terms of a business dynamic. So it's got to be driven by the consumer. At the end of the day, we have to want to not eat ourselves into an early grave.
Yeah, that's a great segue. I want to go back to the beginning. You mentioned the Galloping Gourmet. I go over to my sister's, so that's a blast from the past that some will recognize, some won't. Who know who the hell that is? But I go over to my sister's for dinner on occasion, and she's usually got on Rachel Ray, and we sit there and we watch and we enjoy the show, but it's like, who has time to cook those elaborate meals? And I don't want a 3-hour cleanup of 30 pots and pans afterwards like she's got too. So it's great, but what you said, it is the perfect example. The easy versus the good.
It is a myth that terrorism stopped during COVID. Unfortunately, mainstream media opted to prioritize pandemic hysteria over promoting all news. Terrorism continues. Simply hoping that it doesn't affect you is not a strategy. The new book, Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you, featured on The Author Show, is now available in paperback from bookstores, online, or as an ebook exclusively through Amazon Kindle. Terror Strikes, coming soon to a city near you, by Joseph M. Leonard. Order today.
There are techniques, and I share them as a professional chef. So there's things we do. If I'm making raviolis on Sunday, and we're gonna have some pasta, I'm making pasta. I don't make dinner.
As opposed to Chef Boyardee can of ravioli.
Right. Yeah. So I'm making some fresh pasta. On a Sunday, I've got some time. I don't make just dinner, right? I'm going to make a bunch what we call IQF, individually quick frozen, right? We put it in, vacuum sealer. It's a great way to save money. You can buy things in bulk and then seal them and put them in the freezer. Again, no additional preservative. So that's like one technique that we have. Another thing is if I'm sitting around and it's, in the fall and I'm watching football on a Sunday, I throw all my leftovers from the week into a big pot, add some water. When I'm done watching ball games, I've got stock. So there are things that we can do. We plan our finances. We plan our vacations. We put more thought into what cell phone we're going to buy than we put into what we're going to put into our bodies. And at the end of the day, you can watch me on YouTube or watch my TED Talk, and I could talk to you about food, and I could cook with you, or I could be there at 2 a.m. sticking a stent in your left anterior descending coronary artery. Your choice.
Yeah, I want to touch on something here that you mentioned on a show, quite recently. When I say quite recently, folks, quite recently could be different to many, many people. Quite recently could be a month, 3 months, 4, depending on how you view it. But you were on a show that was affiliated with Radio MD, and you were touching on this. I think you did mention about some of the fast foods. Now, I want to basically pitch this into it. We mentioned, about fast food and convenience and stuff. I want to get your insights on this, being in the field that you are, sir, with food and medical and stuff like that, and what's good for your body and stuff. Why do you think there are so much more fast food joints being built more than your average healthy restaurant? Do you think it's because of now I hate to bring politics in it, but sometimes we do talk about politics if you follow the show sometimes. But do you think it has to do with something with the financial market of why they're building more fast food restaurants rather than your typical scratch kitchens, typically that are more healthier, or your Applebee's or stuff that's cooked more than 3 or 4 seconds in the microwave?
Yeah, I think it totally has to do with these huge lobbies. I mean, the power of big food, big snack, fast food. If you look at the earnings of McDonald's, if McDonald's was a country, it'd have the 80th largest GDP in the world. That's just McDonald's. So that gives you an idea of the massive amount of clout and really power, marketplace power that they have, versus my colleagues and my friends who are chefs, who are opening local restaurants, sourcing local ingredients that are great for you, helping local economy. The moms and the pops restaurants like that, it's tough to compete. And when you're crafting food, you're buying real ingredients and you're paying people to cook it. There are chefs making real food for you. Fast food is not made, it's assembled, right? It's basically made to be thrown into a deep fryer and timed, and that's it.
But what I'm trying to say, Michael, is I hate to put you out or put you out on this question, but what I'm trying to say is, do you think it has to do between fast food and regular kitchens? I want to make sure I'm hearing this correct. Do you think it has to do with business principles basically not being addressed correctly in maybe the boardroom or corporate with the regular scratch kitchens and regular restaurants compared to fast food? Because the fast food, Michael, they have the business principles. I mean, they have it down pack. I mean, they're going up all over the place. They just here in Orlando, they just built like 4 McDonald's within a 4-mile radius. I mean, you with 4 McDonald's, Michael, you only seen 1 major restaurant within that 4-mile radius, and that was in the last 6 months. So I'm seeing more fast food restaurants being built more than your scratch kitchens and your regular restaurants. Like, where do you think the business practice is going wrong there?
Well, I think number one serving you real food, one serving you engineered food, right? When you get 6 McNuggets for 26 cents, what are you really eating, right? So it goes
you're
back
eating
to
crap, though. But the business model, I'm saying, they're selling a lot better with the crap food than the healthy food. Well, like, what's going wrong?
Part of that business model is what's come out of COVID, right? Because in COVID, you had all the lockdowns, and that favored fast food restaurants because of their model. People could stay in their cars and go through the drive-thru when they could. Uber could deliver that. And so you had the restaurants that closed were these from scratch kitchens. Coming out of COVID, fast food restaurants were doing better in terms of the marketplace. To your observation, Michael, they were doing better than before COVID. So COVID and the societal changes and the things that came about, the way we handled it as a society, I think really favored convenient type restaurants, fast food restaurants. And so now they've come out of COVID, with a lead, whereas the scratch restaurants closed.
Well, depending on the region too. I mean, I have friends that live up in New York City, and the entire restaurant business up in New York City during COVID, I mean, they went to hell in a handbasket. Yeah. There's 5-star restaurants, Michael, that will never be the same ever again. They completely lost their entire platform, their business, everything. They closed up shop. They had to. They couldn't get grants. It was totally destroyed. So,
yeah, it's been devastating to so many of my friends and colleagues, across the globe. I had friends at restaurants in London. Great restaurants down here. One of my real good friends runs one of the best restaurants in Florida, The Mill. So I'll give a plug to Chef Ted over in St. Petersburg. If you're ever there, tell him Chef Dr. Mike sent you. Stop on by. He'll hook you up.
What good places have you got for me to find in Detroit area? And also, I wanted to say another good idea for you to drive the point home of the engineered versus the good and the quick versus the good is we need a behind the scenes candid camera, follow around the CEO, CFO, and the board of McDonald's and show where they eat. They're not eating at their restaurant.
Savage.
That tells you, right? Do as I say, not as I do. Right? You shall know them by their fruits.
Joseph, we need to have like people like Emerald.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
You shall know them by their fruits, right? No food pun intended.
Yeah, we need to have that guy, like what's that guy, Joseph, from Dirty Jobs or whatever the hell it's Steve.
Mike Rowe.
Mike
Rowe. That's it. Yeah.
Mike Rowe. Yeah. Yeah. There's that other show, that Undercover Boss, which is nothing but propaganda for each of the firms that they go to. Each episode is cookie cutter, and they find the hard luck cases in a restaurant.
Joseph, that's scripted as shit,
Yeah, so that the CEO can look like a hero in the end, but nothing really changes. It's all, propaganda. It's basically an hour-long ad for whatever. And you advertised Twin Peaks, and I think Hooters was on one of those episodes one time. I'm not sure about Twin Peaks, because Twin Peaks is created. We have one by me in Southie. Hey, Sarah, if you're out there. I doubt she's watching, though. She used to work for MJR Theaters before going over there. I go over there, see her on occasion. But, yeah I think that was a former Hooters exec created Twin Peaks.
Yeah, Twin Peaks is they have a huge competitorship with Hooters here in Florida, because Hooters has a huge presence here in the state of Florida. But Twin Peaks, I mean, is very popular with a lot of our tourists, including our European tourists. They love. I don't know if it's, like you see it in the ad, the mentality of the presence and the environment. But Joseph, I love Twin Peaks. I you know me, I'm a beer guy. I love drinking beer from time to time, not all the time, but they're very known for their 29-degree beer. No bar in Orlando has 29-degree beer.
And beer, the 29-degree beer, and you're definitely not drinking Bud Light. And
God, don't get me started with that shit.
We don't do that in Montana.
Yeah, the other thing The other thing is, yes, like the ad said, it's kind of the lodge atmosphere. That is very nice. I like that. Whereas the Hooters, you've got everything, all the the waitresses and the slabs on the walls and that, and the Twin Peaks is indeed more of a rustic lodge style thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, Hooters is still big in Florida because Hooters started there. And I like Hooters because they got involved in arena football when it first started. There was the Miami Hooters team. Do you remember? You were in Atlanta at that time, so you may not remember.
Yeah, I was
the
living in
Miami
Atlanta. Yeah.
Hooters.
Yeah, they have done that. What the hell is it with? Oh God, I don't even know if he owns it anymore. I know Dwayne the Rock Johnson took it over, but the
The
original owner, I
XFL,
believe,
yeah. The XFL.
transitioning from Vince McMahon from the WWE wrestling, but I think it's Dwayne the Rock Johnson that holds that ownership now. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the XFL. I'm talking about the AFL, the arena.
Oh, okay.
Football
Yeah,
league.
yeah.
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 Hooters
Yeah.
got involved
Oh.
in that early on as a sponsor.
Yeah. Yeah, hold that thought, Joseph. I got to get another break here. We're going to close it out here with Chef Dr. Mike here on the show here, Savage Unfiltered. Be right back after these words.
Florida's Space Coast, you can go anywhere, be anyone, and do anything.
When your money's good,
Thank you.
you feel good. Easy credit building, early payday, fee-free overdrafts. It's banking the way it should be. Chime, the #1 most loved banking app.
Yeah, Chef Dr. Michael, the only man who can cook you up and serve you a liver and operate on your liver or do a liver transplant thereafter, and hopefully he doesn't get the livers mixed up. Anybody going to react to that, or was that?
Yeah, hopefully, Joseph. We haven't had a truth or consequence. I think this is a good part here to put the truth or consequence, guys.
Hello, do not adjust your equipment. No, this is not Michael Gardner. I am Joseph M. Leonard, and I am hijacking this broadcast momentarily to issue a heartfelt thank you. Thank you to the clueless nation's fascocrats that tune into this show. Thank you. I've repeated over and over. And with that, let's get on with the show! Yeah, since that last joke flopped, I guess it's time for some serious talk. Today's episode was one of our serious ones, and hopefully you all got something out of it. Obviously, the truth and consequences are, as Dr. Chef Michael agreed, everything in moderation, and as he said, look at the ingredients. And it's okay to have, again, in moderation, some processed foods on occasion. You're in a hurry at times, but yes, we need to all slow down. I've had health issues since 2001. No, not 9/11 related, even though, given my book Terror Strikes Coming Soon to a City Near You, when I say people that I've been having health issues since 2001, they make that leap. So I indeed have to be a little more careful what I eat these days in order to maintain my health. And we need to slow down and recognize what's important in life and do a little better for our bodies, because we're living longer. And it will have to do with you living a better quality life later. Remember, while we're young, we feel invincible, but as we grow older with every decade, our body metabolism and chemistry changes a bit and slows down, and we need to treat ourselves better with each new decade to have a good life later in life. So with that, I think we're closing out the show. Thank you for tuning in. Take care, God bless, and remember to keep it savaged.
All righty, guys, you just heard Joseph M. Leonard. Wise words for you, Joseph. Guys, we had a rich show. I know we haven't had a truth or consequence here on the show in a long time, and I figured I'd give Joseph the floor here, give him a mic here to kind of bring in some of his words of wisdom that he always does here at the show. Guys, wow. A lot of good stuff. We had a really good, interesting guest. I know he's been on several shows, Fox News. He's been on, series and series of different types of food podcasts all over the place, guys. Really, really, you know me, guys. Always love giving that hat tip to where it's appreciated. So hat tip to you, Chef Dr. Mike. Michael, buddy, for some of my listeners that want to learn more about you, I know you have some books out there. I wanted to get into your books here. I just kind of looked at my notation here. I know you got books out there, buddy. For some of my listeners that want to check out some of the books that you had written and authored over the series of these years, where can they find those books? And, of course, where can they find more about you, sir?
So they can head on over to Amazon, and my books are all available there. Head over to www.chefdrmike, that's chefdrmike.com. Follow us on social media, and please check out my TED Talk that just came out a few weeks ago. If you want to learn a little bit more about culinary medicine, you want to get a little bit more of the science and the details. And if you like the TED Talk, please share it, because we know Kraft macaroni and cheese ain't spreading the word.
Yeah, you got to stay away from that cracked macaroni and cheese. It's poison, right, Joseph? Poison.
I love the little 3-minute microwavable ones. I'm sorry, I love those. But I get the real cheese to put over it, not the powdered stuff. So is that a little better, Mike?
Well, you guys come up to Montana because we have 29-degree and colder beer from like September to May, because that's our ambient temperature. And we'll have some beer, and I'll make you guys some real mac and cheese.
Yeah. You know what? And speaking of Twin Peaks, though, actually, that's one of the things I go to Twin Peaks for, is their macaroni and cheese. I'm not the best wings. I'm not a fan of the wings at Twin Peaks or Hooters, actually. The best wings I've ever found are in Sydney, Ohio, at a place called Wingers. Shout out to Wingers in Sydney, Ohio.
Yeah, big shout out, hat tip to you guys. And what's this place again? Joseph, is this in the middle of nowhere, like in the backwoods or something?
It's near Lima or Lima, however you want to pronounce that. Sydney, Ohio, yeah. I was there for work one time, yeah. One of the Bamel Fasteners, when I was working with them as an automotive supplier, one of the warehouses was near there, so I was down there.
Well, guys, if you're driving a truck, shout out, get your wings over there. It sounds like it's in the middle of fucking nowhere, where population's probably 500 or 1,000 or something. But
it's a pretty good sized town. It's a nice place. But you're right. Hey, if you're a trucker on the road, happen to hear this, you're anywhere going in or into Ohio, make a pit stop in Sydney, Ohio. Tell them the Savaged Unfiltered podcast sent you. You won't get a discount, but
No discounts whatsoever. I don't even know if this. Hopefully this place fucking exists, Joseph.
Well, it has been a long time since I was there, so yeah. I'm assuming they survived COVID. I guess I should go on the internet and look it up, see if they're still there or not.
Yeah, we were talking about a strip club prior to this episode. Maybe it turned into a strip club, Joseph. We don't know, you know. But yeah, guys, we're gonna close it out. We had a fun conversation here with Dr. Chef Michael. Always a privilege and an honor talking to interesting guests on the show. Joseph, we had many. You know, I have so many different people on the show. Yeah.
Yeah,
good stuff.
It's nice to have a serious conversation show, even though we throw in humor here and there wherever we can. Even though my liver joke flopped, I'm not happy that my liver joke flopped.
Yeah. But guys, if you want to know more, I'm going to close it out here with us here. You can head over to www.chefdoctor, that's spelled with a DR, Mike.com. We'll put it in the show notes, guys. I always throw, in the show notes on Spotify, iHeart, Audible, iHeart. God, Shaky, what are we up to? Fucking 10, 12 different types of podcast play. I got to watch my language. I got a lot of people. Stop cursing, Michael. Sorry, Anyway, but go to www.chefdrmike.com. Check him out, guys. Tremendous individual. Check him out on Facebook. It's facebook.com/chefdrmike. He's on Instagram. Real Chef Dr. Mike. Check him out, guys. Tremendous. You heard him. He's on TikTok, putting out tremendous content on TikTok, guys. Such an honor. Guys, thanks very much for checking us out on Savage Unfiltered. And like I always, guys, keep it savage, and we'll see you next time. Take it easy.